Hello, everyone. It's the MLB Algorithm Private unlisted video for now, until I make it public later in the day. For Wednesday, April 24th, 2024, let's talk about the games. Let's talk about the pick of the day. First of all, we glance at the day pivot sheet. If we do nothing else but just look at the order, we're using combination 178. I really like what that did yesterday. I like the distribution here. There's a lot of things that make me think it's a pretty good combination. It has Atlanta on top. Big, huge margin, big bad line. Would be the pick of the day, except the line is minus 225. So we're not going to call that the pick of the day because the line is just too bad. Next, it has the Cubs, which probably will be the pick of the day. We'll find out as we review each game by game. That's looking to be the pick of the day right now. Over a 20% margin, and it's only minus 108. Then you've got Arizona, Milwaukee, Yankees, Mets, Kansas City, and Cleveland, all over 10% here. Also strong picks. And then we've got our toss-up games: Minnesota, Seattle, Dodgers, Detroit, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Colorado, all below 10% margin. As we look at the macro average, when we run the macro sample, a few things to be seen is that this Baltimore Angel game has flipped, and it has the Angels. The San Diego Colorado game has flipped. Everything else looks to be the same. Yeah. So these two games, especially San Diego, LA, are definitely toss-up games, and you would not expect to have a definitive conclusion on who's supposed to win that game either way. Now, let's go and look at the matchup sheet. And also, one thing I want to talk about is I also want to go over some small little nuances when you're updating the file every day, because there's a couple weird things that happened today. When you bring in the lineups into here and you start browsing to see if there are any errors, in addition to looking to see if there are any errors or if any pitcher names are abbreviated, of which there were a few today. There was not that Spencer, but the other Spencer Getty. It was just S. Getty. You have to type their name in over what it said. It said just S. Getty here. You actually have to physically type his full name here, and all of these will change, and that will get the pitcher name correct. And you'll see a lineup factor that shows up when you get the pitcher name correct. If the pitcher name is not correct, you get a 0 in the lineup column for that pitcher. So you got to type in the correct pitcher name sometimes when it's abbreviated. And the other thing is, after you update the lineups, is you refresh the batting order pivot sheet here. And what you'll get is you'll get some holes in the batter pivot if somebody's name is not correlating properly in the matrix. One of the players that wasn't correlating, there was two players actually today that were not correlating. It was Wenzel Perez and Brian Kennedy was the other one. Kennedy got traded and Wenzel Perez needed to be added. There was another W Perez on Detroit in our matrix. It was Williams Perez. And I actually had to remove him and type in Wenzel because 2W Perez's on Detroit was not working properly, and it wasn't applying any batting stats to him in this list, and it came out as a 0. So you just have to continue to update the matrix anytime you see problems in here to get it to work, to get their 2024 stat number score in here. And yeah, so it's just one of those things you have to watch. If Wenzel had not appeared, if we didn't have Wenzel in here like this, okay, what you'll see is in the lineup sheet, you get this error right here. And also in the batting order pivot, you'll see there'd be a blank here for him. So that's how you fix that, is by fixing the matrix sheet and adding the player in there. And now it looks fine. All right, so let's go and look at these game by game. We have an early game starting in about an hour. Arizona and St. Louis favors Arizona. Jordan Montgomery, 6 innings pitched, and he did pitch very well. Kyle Gibson's an okay pitcher as well. Boy, Arizona really poured it on yesterday. You've got a 3 pick of the day for Arizona here. So a lot of confirmation. The only thing that's a little suspect is it's only 1 start so far for Jordan Montgomery, but as noted, he did pitch very well. So Arizona is its pick on there, a minus 102. Let's just face it, it's there. Mets in San Francisco. Big runs for the Mets against Blake Snell's enormous ERA. Blake Snell was such a good pitcher back in the day. He's really not showing it this year. Sean Manaea pitches well. So here you've got the 345 game and an underdog line for the Mets as the 6th pick of the day. That's a pretty good straight bet on the Mets. Baltimore and the Angels. This was a toss-up game according to the margins. And the score, you can see the score is actually flipped on the margin. One of the reasons why the algorithm doesn't know what's going to happen in this game. Tyler Anderson can pitch a better game, but Baltimore's offense is stronger. I think that's one of the reasons why it's flipping on this game and it really doesn't know what to do. So we'll stay away from that game. Boston and Cleveland. We have favoring Cleveland. 2 decent pitchers, although Cooper Criswell's 0-1 and a little higher ERA. So you've got a pretty solid favorite on Cleveland here. The line is pretty consistent with that. Barely in our bettable range at a 10% margin. Cleveland probably wins that game. It's not a super strong pick, but it's okay. Philly and Cincinnati, low scoring game with Spencer Turnbull and Nick Lodolo, both ERAs under 1.25. The under set at 8.5 because it's in Cincinnati, but with this pitching matchup, the under is a pretty good play here. It's a ballpark that has a lot of balls hit out of it, but with these pitchers, that's not supposed to happen. That's why you get this pretty generous 8.5 over under. So too close to call on who's going to win this game, but the under seems like the play in that game. Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. Milwaukee heavily favored, winning 7-2. Brian Hudson pitching great this year. 1-0, 0.77 ERA against Quinn Priester. Only 4 innings pitched, but they were not good. This is a pretty solid pick for Milwaukee, especially in the first 5 innings in a game like this with this setup. So keep that in mind. Dodgers and Washington, very close by score and fairly close by margin. Landon Knack came up from AAA this season, has had 1 start. Jake Irvin is one of the best pitchers on Washington's staff. While the Dodgers lineup factor is pretty good, the line's not great. The line's not good. This is an interesting situation where Washington could potentially win this day. It's a beautiful day in our nation's capital. That's a really good line. It says do not take LA down here. This is way too close for LA, less than a run differential, and the pitching matchup slightly favors Washington and that limited professional stats for the Dodgers. So it's a stay away game or maybe a risk on the Nationals if you like that underdog line. Detroit and Tampa Bay. Detroit favored at an underdog line. Jack Flaherty going. Okay pitcher. Tyler Alexander, okay pitcher. Pretty close game. It's really too close to call. They did pull it off yesterday. Detroit is better this year. It's too far down on the list to be a really good pick, but you do get even money on Detroit. So it's considering a bet on Detroit, but it's not part of a parlay or a round robin. Yankees over Oakland. Now we're consistent with the Yankees line of -225. It's the 5th pick of the day. Joe Boyle having trouble this year. Clark Schmidt pitching pretty well. So this is one of those where the line's bad, but the Yankees probably beat Oakland in this scenario. Atlanta, #1 pick of the day. The line's brutal as well. Reynaldo Lopez, excellent. Look at this, 0.5 ERA with 18 innings pitched. Sixto Sanchez has got an ERA of 6.0 as well. So this is why, had this line been better, Atlanta's absolutely, looking like a pick of the day material. And really, you should probably still take them even at -225. There's no reason not to. They're probably going to win this game. Houston and the Cubs. So are the Cubs #1? Well, Jameson Taillon, only 5 innings pitched, and Spencer Arrighetti, only 7 innings pitched. But Tallions are great and Arrighettis are bad. So this is a situation, once again, where there is the only stat that's favoring Houston slightly is the lineup factor here. So Spencer Arrighetti's got to pitch an unbelievably good game to keep the Cubs runs down in order to win this game, but that does not look likely. So at -108, we are going to call the Cubs the pick of the day. Jameson Taillon's a pretty good pitcher. I know he's pitched in the past, previous years and been pretty good. So that you can't really argue with it when you see a line like that. So the Cubs are the pick of the day. Go Cubbies. Toronto and Kansas City. Kansas City wins as our pick of the day yesterday. Alex Marsh, they got a decent, they have a decent roster of pitchers on Kansas City this year. Yariel Rodriguez, 7 innings pitched, also pitched well here though. Barely bettable at the 11% margin in the underdog line. They are favored by lineup factor. They're not favored by pitcher ERA or WHIP because Yariel Rodriguez, well, he doesn't have any decisions. He did pitch very well. So I can see why I would stay away from this game actually. And the under is not a bad play in this game either. 7.3 runs, you can get an over under a possibly 9. And with this decent matchup and the lineup factor's not that high, you're probably going to get an under in that game. That seems to be a little more reliable than the Kansas City bet on this game. White Sox, how are they going to lose today? Apparently 6-3. Joe Ryan, decent pitcher. Garrett Crochet should stick to knitting instead of pitching at 1-3. The lineup factors are terrible, but Minnesota, you only have to deal with a -190 line. I'm back on the train of always betting against the White Sox after what they did yesterday. So if you want to keep doing that, you win 85% of the time if you bet against the White Sox. What are they? 3-20? What are they? It's like I think we can see their record in one of these stats here. How bad are they? They're bad. Let's see here. They are, you get the win-loss. You get the win-loss over here. The White Sox are going to be down at the bottom. 3-20, everybody. You lose 6.5 games every time you win one. That's how, or they lose 6.5. They are bad. So betting against the White Sox, like I said, you win like 6 out of 7 games if you bet against the White Sox. So it says bet against the White Sox. Seattle and Texas. Seattle, nice win yesterday. Bryce Miller, excellent pitcher. John Gray, not bad himself. You got a lineup factor in favor of Texas. It's way down on this list at only a 7% margin. Does say Seattle wins in a very similar score to yesterday. Once again, you've got an over-under situation because of this good pitching that it likes the under in this game once again. And Seattle, but Seattle's a little bit closer down at the bottom of the list. So it might be a play to take the under there as well. And we finish off with a closer game between San Diego and Colorado. Does not know which way to go. And you've got 1 inning pitched for Ty Block. There's too much uncertainty in this game. Just completely going to stay away from that. So in summary, Atlanta to win, Cubs to win, pick of the day, Arizona to win, Milwaukee to win, Yankees to win, Mets to win, under in the Kansas City, Toronto, probably Cleveland to win, Minnesota because they're playing the White Sox, Seattle under. This game was stay away or potentially take Washington. You could consider some of the stuff. There was an under in the Seattle, Cincinnati, Philly game. Too close, and probably too close to call with Detroit, Tampa Bay also. So a decent amount on there. Good luck, everyone. Let's go Cubbies, and may all your picks be winning.